Cokie Roberts, broadcast journalism legend, dies at 75. This is the picture of Cokie Roberts. She was photographed in her home in Bethesda, Maryland on the 5th of February 2019. Veteran journalist Cokie Roberts, winner of 3 Emmys and a legend and trailblazer in broadcasting, has died at the age of 75, ABC News announced. News from CNN, by Kerry Flynn, CNN Business. All photos may not represent the story. Watch to learn English the way you've learned your mother tongue, as this video is especially made. President Donald Trump on Tuesday reacted to the death of veteran journalist Cokie Roberts by saying, "She never treated me nicely," before extending his well wishes to her family. "I never met her. She never treated me nicely. But I would like to wish her family well. She was a professional, and I respect professionals," Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One en route to California. "I respect you guys a lot, you people a lot. She was a real professional. Never treated me well, but I certainly respect her as a professional." Trump's tense relationship with the press has become a cornerstone of his administration, with the president repeatedly admonishing journalists as the enemy of the people. His comments on Tuesday, and, notably, his complaint that Roberts never treated me nicely, stood in stark contrast to the praise Roberts' memory received elsewhere as a trailblazer in journalism. Trump's predecessor, former President Barack Obama, released a statement Tuesday calling Roberts a role model to young women at a time when the profession was still dominated by men, a constant over 40 years of a shifting media landscape and changing world, informing voters about the issues of our time and mentoring young journalists every step of the way. And former Vice President Joe Biden, the 2020 Democratic presidential front-runner who served under Obama for 8 years, echoed that sentiment in a tweet, calling Roberts a pioneer. Relentless in her pursuit of the truth and steadfast in her commitment to breaking down barriers for women in journalism, our country is better because of it, Biden said. Former President George W. Bush memorialized Roberts in his own statement Tuesday, celebrating her as a talented, tough, and fair reporter. "We respected her drive and appreciated her humor," the nation's 43rd president said. "She became a friend." Roberts died at age 75 due to complications from breast cancer, her family said in a statement Tuesday. Roberts worked in television, public radio and publishing for over 40 years. She began her tenure at ABC as a contributor for This Week with David Brinkley, and later became ABC's chief congressional analyst. Roberts is survived by her husband Steve V. Roberts and her children Lee Roberts and Rebecca Roberts, her grandchildren Regan, Hale and Cecilia Roberts and Claiborne, Jack and Roland Hartman, along with nieces, nephews, and cousins. "We will miss Cokie beyond measure, both for her contributions and for her love and kindness," Roberts' family said in a statement on Tuesday. Roberts passed away on Tuesday due to complications from breast cancer, the family's statement said. "She will be dearly missed." Cokie's kindness, generosity, sharp intellect and thoughtful take on the big issues of the day made ABC a better place and all of us better journalists, ABC News President James Goldston said in a statement. Roberts began her career in the 1960s at WNEW and KNBC-TV. She joined CBS News in 1974 and then NPR in 1978, for which she covered Capitol Hill and reported on the Panama Canal Treaty. She also served as a correspondent for the MacNeil-Lehrer NewsHour and as a contributing senior news analyst for PBS. Cokie was one of NPR's founding mothers. Since 1978, her signature voice and commentary have accompanied public radio listeners, provided context for news and been a familiar presence in their homes, NPR president and CEO Joel Morn said in a statement. Roberts also wrote a number of New York Times best-selling books, most recently, Capital Dames, The Civil War and the Women of Washington, 1848–1868, in 2015. Roberts' death was immediately felt throughout the journalism community, particularly by those who worked with her. ABC World News Tonight anchor David Muir tweeted, "You made us all better. Your brilliant mind, your sharp wit, and above all, your kind heart." NPR's Steve Inskeep said, "She was an insightful voice on the air, and a leader behind the scenes, both at NPR and at ABC News." Mother Jones editor-in-chief Clara Jeffrey said Roberts broke down barriers for women journalists and had a remarkable life. Read the full memo Goldstein sent to ABC staffers. Team. I'm writing with very sad news. Our dear friend and colleague Cokie Roberts passed away this morning in Washington, surrounded by her family and closest friends. Cokie had a storied career over 40 years in television, public radio and publishing. She started at ABC as a contributor for This Week with David Brinkley, appearing frequently on the Roundtable. She was ABC's chief congressional analyst, anchored This Week with Sam Donaldson from 1996 to 2002 and was known as one of the smartest political commentators on television and radio for decades. A true pioneer for women in journalism, Cokie was well regarded for her insightful analysis of politics and policy in Washington, D.C., countless newsmaking interviews, and, notably, her unwavering support for the generations of young women, and men, who would follow her in her footsteps. In the 1970s, Cokie started in radio as a foreign correspondent for CBS, before moving to NPR to cover Capitol Hill in 1978. She would go on to become the congressional correspondent for NPR, where she would eventually split her time with ABC News. Cokie is perhaps the only reporter to have filed for Morning Edition, All Things Considered, World News Tonight and Nightline all in a single day. A terrifically talented writer and historian, Cokie published 6 books, many of them bestsellers and most about women in American history, whose stories often had been overlooked. She won every major award in journalism and was recognized with over 30 honorary degrees. Cokie was named one of the 50 greatest women in the history of broadcasting by the American Women in Radio and Television, and the Library of Congress declared her a living legend in 2008, making her one of the very few Americans ever honored. Her beloved husband Steve was at her side through all of it. They were married for over 50 years and wrote a widely popular syndicated newspaper column and 2 books together. Cokie and Steve were married in the garden of her parents' Bethesda home, where Cokie grew up, and they would later raise their family. They had 2 children, Lee and Rebecca, and 6 grandchildren, whom she cherished. Please join me in sending your thoughts and prayers to Cokie's family and loved ones. Her family passed along the message below. We will share details about the service when they're available. She will be dearly missed. Cokie's kindness, generosity, sharp intellect and thoughtful take on the big issues of the day made ABC a better place and all of us better journalists. Please take a moment today to remember an exceptional reporter and remarkable friend. James. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.